So if you're an action figure collector, or a collector of any number of different things for that matter, you've probably run into this problem at some point or another. What do you do with all the boxes? Now, if you're somebody who does not open your figures, of course you're going to keep them. This video probably doesn't apply to you, to be honest, but feel free to keep watching if you've got nothing better to do, I guess. Anyways, for those of us who do open our figures and take them out of the box and all of that, we're left with a decision to make. What should you do with the boxes? Should you keep them or get rid of them? And those really are your two options. There is some sort of middle ground, but I'm going to get into that at the end of the video. Really, you've got two options. Trash them or keep them. I'm going to go through the pros of each option, and you can make up your mind as to what you should do with all your boxes if you're currently saving them. So I'm going to start off with the pros of getting rid of your action figure boxes. And there are really only two big ones that I could think of, but they're pretty significant. So number one, you save space. Look, this just is what it is. Action figure boxes take up a lot of space eventually. It might not seem like it at first when you're just saving, like, I don't know, between 1 and 10 or whatever. But as time goes on, you're going to accumulate more of these things if you're not throwing them out and, you're saving every single one of them. You're just going to accumulate more and more and more, and it's going to get out of hand. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience on this. Back in the early 2010s, I want to say 2012, 2013-ish, I used to save a lot of the boxes for the Transformer figures that I'd buy. I was a pretty avid Transformers collector at the time, and I was buying whatever was currently out at the time, along with ordering figures from older lines on eBay, and I was saving nearly all the boxes. Let's just say it got kind of ridiculous, it got out of hand. My closet was full of Transformers boxes from every era you could think of. They were on the floor, on the shelves. It got to be a mess. I did eventually throw them out, but yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is you save a lot of space by getting rid of them. If, let's say you live in a studio apartment, or, your home is just small, you just don't have a lot of space, it probably just isn't reasonable to save tons and tons of boxes. It probably just isn't reasonable. So yeah, that's a major pro, is saving space. Number two, you don't have to think about them anymore. So what do I mean by that? Well, you don't have to work around them if you're rearranging stuff in your home or in your closet where you're keeping all of them. If you're moving, you don't need to be bothered with moving the boxes full of other boxes. Honestly, if you're on the fence about whether or not you should get rid of your action figure boxes or keep them, you should probably get rid of them, because one day you're gonna need to get rid of them. This, again, I'm speaking from experience here. Every time I saved a Transformers box back in the day, there was always that part of me that was kind of like, this is kind of stupid. Why am I saving this? The thing is just going to get more beat up and faded over time. Why am I doing this? Why am I saving this? But I chose to save it anyways, and you know what? A few years ago, I needed to break down and get rid of a lot of boxes. Lots of them. So if you get rid of them, and if you get rid of them right away, it saves you the trouble down the road. So there you go. Okay, those are the two main pros of getting rid of your action figure boxes. I know there are only two, but believe me, those are not insignificant. Space is a big deal, and you run out pretty quickly if you're a very dedicated collector. But yeah, those are the major pros of getting rid of your action figure boxes. Now on to the pros of keeping them. So number one, you can use them for storage or displaying your figures in. So I actually don't know of anyone who actually does this other than I used to do it, but back when I saved the boxes for my Transformers figures, I would actually put the figures back in the boxes when they weren't on the display shelf anymore. So when the display shelf got a little too full, or the line I had on display was a little old and I wanted to have a newer line or newer figures on display, what I would do is I would put the figures back in their packaging. And then I would hang those boxes on the walls, hang the carded action figures on the walls, and depending on how careful I initially was about opening the figures, they actually looked really good. They actually looked like they were unopened in some cases. It was pretty cool. Now, sometimes you get a little sloppy and you do like a hatchet job on the box, and then it doesn't look good when you try to put the figure back in. But, overall, it did look pretty cool. So yeah, if that sounds cool to you, you could save the boxes to display the figures in later on. You can hang them on your walls. Also for storage, if you want to store the figures away and put them in their boxes and then, put them in other boxes or whatever, you can do that. That I guess is a decent way to store your figures. Point number 2 for a pro of keeping your action figure boxes, the potential resale value. So if you plan on selling your figures one day, there's a chance that you might be able to make more money on them if you have their box, instructions, any other documentation, all of that stuff in good condition. For the most part, figures like the Transformer figures, like the Siege line generations, all of that stuff, the Transformers figures that you're gonna find at Target or Walmart, Marvel Legends, Star Wars figures, this stuff that you're going to find just, like I said, at any local store. Generally, figures like these, if someone is buying them off of you used, if they're buying a used figure, they probably don't care very much about the packaging, and they're probably just gonna throw it away if you send it with the figure. Honestly, I don't really see you being able to make that much more of a profit by including the box in cases like that. Now, there are exceptions to this. If the figure you have is very rare and or expensive and valuable, and it's been opened and taken out of the packaging, but everything is still in great condition, in those cases, having the box will probably allow you to ask a little bit more for the figure. But like I said, just like your run-of-the-mill Transformers, Marvel Legends, Star Wars figures, I don't really see having the box as adding to the resale value that much. Unless, of course, you kept the figure in the box and it's unopened, then, of course, it's going to be significantly more valuable than, if you would have opened it. But if you've opened it already, in these cases, I just don't see it increasing the value all that much. But there is the possibility. There's always the possibility that you could ask for more on it. So yeah, that's a potential reason to keep the boxes, especially if you have figures that are a little bit more valuable. Okay, so on to number 3, the third reason why you may want to save the boxes for your opened action figures, and that is proving authenticity. This point I really could have tied it in with the last one, but I decided to separate them. Anyways, if you own some of Good Smile's figures like their Figma or Nendoroid figures or Bandai's Figure Arts figures, or really any figures that are of a little higher quality, Chinese knockoffs are something to be concerned about. So if you ever plan on selling those figures on eBay, you might want to have the box just to prove the authenticity of the figure, just to prove that, it is what you say it is. Okay, so number 4 is the novelty. So there is that bit of novelty in just being able to say that you have the boxes for your figures even if you've opened them. This may seem a little excessive to some, but others might think it's pretty cool that you have the original packaging intact and you can put the figures back in the boxes if you want to. Okay, so in summary, the pros of throwing your action figure boxes out are you save space and you don't have to think about them later on down the road. The pros of keeping your action figure boxes, you can use them to store or display your action figures in. There's the potential resale value, proving authenticity in case you're buying a figure that there are a lot of knockoffs of, and the novelty of it. Honestly, for me, like I probably already said in this video, I get rid of most of the boxes for any action figures that I buy. There are some cases where I do keep them. These Good Smile Overwatch figures, for example, I've probably been showing off their boxes in the video. I'm keeping these because I don't know if I'm going to choose to sell them one day. And the boxes might make them easier to sell down the road. Also, there aren't that many of these, and there really aren't that many made per year. So they really don't take up that much space. I just kind of store them in a relatively small box. They stack pretty easily and keep them in my attic. Honestly, I'll probably end up getting rid of them one day, but for right now, it doesn't take up that much space. But for the most part, I do get rid of the boxes, especially for Transformers figures. You know, I just toss those anymore. Which brings me to the final part of this video, the middle ground, that I kind of alluded to earlier. So there's nothing saying that it's all or nothing, you know? You can choose to get rid of most of the boxes for action figures that you buy, but maybe keep a few here and there. Maybe there are some figures that are just more valuable. Maybe there are figures that just matter a little bit more to you for whatever reason, and you want to keep the boxes. In those cases, if you're not keeping like a ton of them, space probably isn't going to be a huge issue. I will say though, once you start keeping a few boxes here and there, you might fall into the trap of keeping too many of them, you know, the whole slippery slope thing. Another thing you can do with your action figure boxes is cut out and save the cool parts, like any cool artwork or stats about the characters. If you want to save that, you can just cut it out and throw the rest away. You know, I know someone who actually does this. They cut out like any art or any stats about the character and, you know, keep them in plastic sleeves and put those in 3-ring binders. It actually looks pretty cool. It's not really something I do, but you know, if that sounds cool to you, that could potentially be maybe middle ground. You know, maybe you feel bad about throwing the boxes out because of the cool artwork or something. Well, you can do something like that, you know, cut out the art and save it. Anyways, that about wraps things up. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it to be informative. Let me know what you do with your action figure boxes in the comments down below. And also, feel free to like and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. It really helps out. Anywho, thanks for watching and have a good one.